Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to the third session of the Machine Learning Bootcamp. And today you will be starting with supervised learning. And the first algorithm that we will be teaching you would be linear regression. So, does anyone want to reply in chat that does anyone know what linear regression is or what the name suggests? Can we have some answers in the chat?
Yes,
Linear
it is a
regression.
two-way communication. I already told you. So we want the maximum number of participation in the chat box. And please kindly take pen and paper while we will be explaining the mathematical derivations of some of the equations. So the derivations aren't mentioned in the PPT. So it is requested to just take the pen and paper and kindly pay close attention to the lectures, because at the end we will be asking some of the questions. The questions are with no marks, but it is the intention that you have cleared some of the concepts. Even if you don't get 100% of it, there is nothing wrong about it. You should be able to grasp at least 30 to 40% of it. Okay. So yes, we can see some of the replies. Manasvi, Darshan, Rasika, Pranav. Okay, great. What about others? Only these people are attending the lecture.
Predicting values of one variable based on another variable, independent variable. Yes, that's absolutely correct, Kabir. Relationship between dependent and yeah, of course, Chinmay. And Daryl says supervised learning uses data between two different variables. The question, I won't say the statement is 100% correct, or like, is it a question, Daryl? Data between two variables, yeah, like we use data for supervised as well as unsupervised. Okay, just not sure. Okay, no problem. So this session is for that only, so that you all get sure about what is happening in the linear regression. Value of variable based on another. Yes, exactly. So yeah, Aditya, let's get started with it.
Okay, so we will be starting the session. Okay. So we have studied in the last lecture what are the types of supervised learning. So generally we have two types of supervised learning. The first one was the classification task, and the one was regression. So what was we doing in the classification? We was trying to classify the output in two cases or more than two cases, like it is a pass or fail. So what it does signifies that it is a discrete values, means either it can be yes or no. It can be in the classes. It can't be discrete or continuous values. So that was about classification. And the second type was regression. Regression means continuous values, like your height, your marks, or your percentage. Okay, so that is a continuous value. Suppose your height is 163.4 centimeter, 165 centimeter. Okay, so these were two types of supervised learning which we studied in the last class. Now we will be focusing on to the second part, that is the regression problems. Okay, in supervised learning. Okay, so in the regression, the first one is called as linear regression. In the today's main focus is linear regression, how we'll be approaching the linear regression. Okay, so as we have studied, linear regression is a supervised learning algorithm. So what it tries to does is analyze the relationship between two or more variables. Okay, and why we do this? So this is done to gain the information about the values by knowing the other values. So okay, so that's why we use linear regression. Now it tries to determine the relationship between one dependent variable and the series of undefined variable. Okay, so ignore the definitions. We will strictly jump into some of the examples of linear regression, how linear regression works, so you will be better understanding it. Uh, okay, so everyone, my screen is visible, the whiteboard. Can anyone just confirm it?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, sure. So in the whiteboard, suppose this is my y-axis. Okay, uh, and this is the kind of your years, number of years in experience, and this is your salary. So what do you expect? As your years of experience increases, your salaries also increases. So you
Aditya,
can.
this would be reversed, right? Salary would be on y-axis and year would be on x.
Oh yes, 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 yes.
Let's suppose, okay, so this plot would be of an industrialist you want to mention. Let's say CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai. So we are going to analyze the salary of Sundar Pichai, how it will be affected. So salary on y-axis and the years of experience of that industrial person, that would be on x-axis. So of course, the people who have better years of experience, so they are kind of tended to have better salary. So let's see how the data would be. Aditya, please proceed.
Okay, so as your years of experience increases, so as your salary increases. Okay, so your data will be like this kind of stuff. It is a form of linear relationship. So there is a kind of relationship that we can establish here, and from the given trends we can find out there is a linear relationship we can find out, and this is a kind of plot. Okay, this is the line we can expect. So if my years of here is a 5 years of experience, here 10 years of experience, similarly 15 and 20, and here suppose this is 1 million. Okay, the numbers are in million. 1, 5, 10, 15. So as your years of experience increases, so when I have 5 years of experience, my salary was near about $1 million. So when my year of experience was near about 10 years, my salary was something around $6 million or $7 million. So as my numbers of years are getting increased in the when I'm experienced in 20 years in the specific field, so I'm working for 20 years in Google. So at that point of time, my salary would be approx $11 million. So what it is trying to do, it is trying to find a relationship between your years of experience and your salary. So we can see that as the number of years of experience increases, so as your salary increases. Okay, so that's the meaning of the regression, that it tries to predict your future. So what happens when I have 25 years of experience in the similar industry? What will happen? I will plot my axis like this. So my salary would be approx somewhat around $15 million. Okay, so that's how kind of linear regression works. Means it is trying to predict your continuous values. Okay, so salary is your continuous value. Okay, so it can be anything. Suppose this can be your price of house. You want to predict the price of house based on the square footage. How much square foot the house is. Suppose it is 5,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet. So as your price increases, means it has a continuous variables. You can't define it as your salary will be yes or no. You have to define the specific number. Okay, so that's how a linear regression works. So yes, we will be moving on again. So it attempts to determine the relationship between one dependent variable. So here our dependent variable was, any guesses? What was our dependent variable in the case of salary and years of experience?
Yes, no, Manasvi, salary exactly. Because salary
Great.
depended on number of years the person is working. Okay, so the year could change like the year could change as ever it wants, but the salary would be depended on what the number of years of experience it is. So salary is the one depended on the years of experience.
Okay, so that's what we aim to predict. Okay, so here was our experience and here was our salary. Okay, so when we try to fit a good line, so it is a good line. No, it's not that good enough. So we move a line slightly to the right. Okay, and we again try to classify whether it is good or bad. So what our main aim is to do is we want to reduce the distance between the points. Okay, so this red point, the upper one red and this red. So what we want to do is we want to reduce the distance of these points from this line. So when the error is least, we say that we have got the best regression line. Okay, So the best fit line is found by minimizing the total error. And when I'm doing the summation of this error, and at that point of the time, if I'm getting the reduced error of all the lines which I had drawn previously, then at that point of the time, I can say that my line is best fitted. Okay. And now
Okay.
from the best fitted line.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, when Nikita says that is it compulsory to take the dependent variable on y-axis? So you can't say it's compulsory, but it's like a sign, like a convention that everyone prefers it that way, because like it's just being going on now. So you don't have any compulsion on it. You can of course try x, and then your graph would be kind of inverse, and it would be according to you. Just like for current, you take it from positive to negative, it flows, but in reality it flows from negative to positive, right? If you know, if you are familiar with the physics that we learned in 10th or 11th standard. So the convention was to take current that it was flowing from the positive electrode to the negative electrode. So similar like that, we have the convention that we take dependent variable on y-axis. Aditya, please.
I hope
Let's.
your doubt is cleared. Uh, yeah, okay. So we'll be moving on to the dependent and independent variables. So what was our dependent and independent variable we just talked out? So what are independent variables? Independent variables are inputs to the system. Okay, so the inputs which I'm giving to the system. Suppose kind of, okay, so I'm not able to draw something. Okay, so consider the example, you have a house for to sell. So you have different features, the house in square feet, the number of bedrooms, okay, the number of bedrooms a house, and the number of playgrounds nearby. Okay, so you have all these features, and you want to predict the price of the house. So price of the house is my dependent variable, and all these values like your size of the house, your bedrooms, these are all independent variables. Independent variables means the values from which you are going to predict something, and the value which is getting predicted is called as a dependent variable. Okay, so what does dependent variables are? Dependent variable are those values that changes the consequence of the change in other values in the system. Means once I change the independent variable, so as my dependent variable will be getting change. अगर मैंने independent value को change किया तो मेरी dependent value भी change हो गई. मतलब क्या है, मेरी dependent value मेरी independent value पे dependent है. Okay, so independent variables are also called as predictor variables, and it is generally denoted by x. And my dependent values are called as response variable, and it is generally denoted by y. You can
Aditya, your voice is lagging.
want, but generally their convention is hello.
Yeah, like was it for me or it was actually lagging for everyone? I don't know, but it was just flickering in between. I'm sorry.
So can anyone confirm from the chat that Isma was lagging?
Okay, it was lagging, but now it's okay. Proceed. If it happens, I'll tell you.
Okay, sure. So everyone is clear about dependent and independent variable? Yes, some answers I would like to see in the chat box.
Yeah, looks like everyone is clear.
Okay, great. Okay, so now we'll be moving on to the hypothesis. So don't get any too much tense by saying the word hypothesis. Hypothesis is just kind of a function. Means for your convention, just think it as the aim or goal of the model. So what our goal of the model is to learn the function h of x, so that which is give good predictor in the following training set. Okay, so you must be remembering the what is the equation of a line. You must have studied in the class 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th till
Can anyone
now.
put in the chat box? Just quickly.
Equation of a straight line, normal line.
Darshan got fast hands, huh? Y equals to mx plus c. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so what you have studied, that equation of line is equals to y is equals to mx plus c. Now what does m and c represents here?
Yeah, m is slope, right? And c, anyone? C is a constant, right? How do we check the line apart from the base? Or is there any other way to? Amruta would be covering that further. Just wait, it's coming later on. C equals y intercept. Yeah, that's correct. Right. Exactly.
So I guess my whiteboard is visible. Okay, so y is equals to mx plus c.
No,
Now m.
still the okay, now whiteboard. Yeah.
Okay, so here my m was the slope and c was my constant. Okay, so this was the main equation of the line. Why we use linear regression. So that's the main intuition that we use hypothesis function. Hypothesis function means we want to find the best line. Okay, so similarly the equation is same. H of x is equals to theta naught plus x times theta 1. So what here the equation of the line was y is equals to mx plus c. Now your c represents theta naught. Theta naught means constant value. Okay, you can see that your c is your theta naught and your mx, your x was your independent variable, and theta was your slope. Okay,
Basically,
so
we just replaced the m and c with theta 1 and theta 0 respectively.
imagine in that sense. Okay, so that's the main hypothesis, means you want to find the best line, best predictor. Okay, so now you have your predictions. Okay, so think like that you are giving your any exams, so you are giving your JEE exams or any competitive exams. So you have your the questions, the answers you mark in your exam, and there are the correct answers which are all predefined. Okay, so your predictions means the answers you mark in the exam, and the labels means that is the exams that are the answers which are already defined. Like suppose you mark the answer for question number 1 as C, but the correct answer is B. Okay, so your correct answer B is called your true label, and the answer which you marked is called as your prediction. So the answer is you marked is C. Okay, so your label is your true prediction, the actual answer in your exam, but the prediction that you mark is represented as your prediction. Okay, so this is the column you predicted, and this was your label, your correct answers. Okay, so when you try to find out the error, how will you find out in case of regression? That you will subtract your actual value from the predicted value. So in this case, you will be subtracting your 4 minus 6 plus 5 minus 3. But if you do this, at the end you will get the answer 0. So there are some special techniques which are used in machine learning to evaluate your model's performance. Evaluation means, suppose you are writing an exam, so there are certain parameters that on this basis of that you will be getting admissions into some colleges. So there are certain parameters. So there are certain parameters called as mean squared error, mean absolute error, and root mean squared error. On the basis of that, your model's performance is getting judged. So what does root mean squared does is, it will just simply subtract this value. So once 4 minus 6 is done, so I will subtract, so value will be, I will be getting is minus 2. So minus 2 square plus 5 minus 3, I will be getting as 2. So 2's whole square. Similarly, I will be doing whole square of all these value, and at the end I will be taking the square root. So now you can see when I was doing the normal error, so I was just subtracting and adding. At that time I was getting 0 as my value. But when I was calculating by the metrics of machine learning, I'm getting the value as 3.16. So that's the difference. We use machine learning specific matrices for evaluation of your model. So root mean squared error is one of such metrics. Okay, so we will be seeing such further matrices in our upcoming chapters. So just remember, root mean squared error, RMSE, short form is called as RMSE. So the full form is root mean squared error. Okay.
Actually, it's a mean. So just imagine there is a denominator divided by 4. See, there is root r mean. So the mean of all the square differences. So there is a mean. So everything is written here except that is a mean. So it would be just divided by 4.
Okay. So I get.
Yeah.
So just note down that.
Aditya, can we go to that diagrams we had, that red labels, red data and the point like line we were fitting in the PPT? The diagrams of linear regression. Yeah, these ones. See, so what happens is that, yeah, Manasvi, just look in this way. So what we had in x-axis was the experience any industrialist had. Okay, so the experience of, let's say, Mark Zuckerberg here. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg used to code. So he's a software developer. He's a software developer. So at the x-axis we had the experience he had in the field, and in y-axis we had the salary. So by default, okay, from the start, what we have is that we have some data. It could be an Excel sheet, it could be a comma separated value, so it could be anything. So you have data, and those are those red labels. Okay, so you have some relation between the salary and the years of experience, and that is plotted in this XY graph. So you just plotted the data that you have. Okay, so someone for the the first intercept, you can see for the years of experience one, that could be $1 million, let's say the salary. Okay, so like that it is just plotted, there is no line right now. So the data you have to train, that is just plotted in x and y, and now what you try to do is you try to fit a best line in the given data, so that the data, like the line, could get a proper hold of that data. Okay, and what that means is that you try to fit a line. So here we try to fit a line in the given data. And what we are trying to do is that we are trying to minimize the distance between the points and the line. Because as we will minimize the distance, though basically the error would be less, right? And we want a line to like the best fit on the data we have. So that's what we do in linear regression. And what we try to minimize is that this distance between a point and the line we are trying to fit. And we just like try to bend the line accordingly. So we have the minimum possible distances between sum of each of these distances of a particular line from that point. We sum it and we try to minimize that distance. And that's what basically we were trying to do in this predicted one. So we were trying to do predictions that were given by the line and the actual values, that is these red dots that were given to us. And from the line we tried to predict that y-intercepts. So that was the table, Aditya.
Yes.
So that was the table. So the labels were the actual dots, okay, the red dots, and the prediction was you tried to give a particular x and you saw the corresponding output, that is y equals to mx plus c, right? So you gave a particular x and the y you got by using the equation of line, that is your predictions. And you try to reduce the error. The error would be nothing but the distance between the data, the red points you have, and the line you have. Okay, so that is what you are trying to subtract. And if you will take the exact values, so there are some points that are above the line, there are some points that are below the line. So that's why in the first line where you are trying to do calculate the error and you got 0, but was it actually 0? It wasn't. Okay, so some data points were above the line, some data points were below the line. So that's why they were tending to cancel out each other, but that's exactly not what's happening. Okay, that is not what is happening. So that's why we use another things called as these root mean squared errors or mean absolute error. Okay, so these are the certain techniques we use in machine learning to calculate error, and we don't take these absolute values. So got the point? Like I tried my best to explain, but I don't know if someone dozed out in between. Smallest.
So the smallest allow.
No, actually, smallest distance would be 0, na Daryl? Because if a line perfectly, like let's say a hypothetical data we have where all the data points lie on the line, so the distance would be 0 then. So the best fit line would have the difference between the data points and the actual line 0. Right, so that you will consider as a best fitted line. Max dist, you can't just say that maximum distance or error could be 6.13. It could be anything. So like the
Okay, hold on, Tharva.
Yeah,
I will give them example. So suppose consider these are the points on your your graph. Okay, so now what your aim is to do is you want to fit a line that will reduce the errors. Okay, so let me just draw a line. Okay, suppose you have drawn this line. Okay, consider this as my best fitted line. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to find out the distance. Okay, the distance of this point to the this line. Okay, the red lines. Okay, the red lines which I have drawn. So you want to find that line which reduces the error. मतलब क्या है इन शॉर्ट कि मेरे को एक ऐसी लाइन फाइंड करनी है जिसमें द एरर्स ऑफ दिस लाइन फ्रॉम द पॉइंट should be minimum. Okay, the goal should be minimum to minimize the error. Okay, so maximum distance or the max distance is 3.6. No, Nakul, the distance I am trying to figure out is when you try to sum these lines. Okay, so this red line plus this plus this plus this, so addition of all these lines give you 3.16. So that was the minimum. Okay, yes, got it. Okay, great. Means you want to find you want to minimize the distance of this point from this line. Okay, so the line which I have drawn and these points, I want to reduce the distance. Okay, so why it is called as RMSE rather than RSE? So Aditya, what's the difference is that you are asking about the evaluation metrics. Okay, so I will go on to the evaluation metrics once again. So what are evaluation metrics? So if you are given your any kind of exam, suppose you are given your college exams, so you write some answers and the professor has some correct answers. So what does the professor does is he tries to match the answers that you have written with the original answers, and they see how much your answer differs from the original answers, and on the basis of that they give you the marks. So RMS is the same thing. It tries to see the original labels and your predicted labels what you have given the machine, and what is done is it tries to take the difference and square it out, and at last it takes the square root of the distance. Okay, so I think you should avoid the matrix part. We will be going on to the matrix further on. The best fitted line is selected. Yes, Nakul, absolutely right. The best fitted line is selected to minimize the error. Yes. Can you please show the RMSE score once again? Okay, hold on. I will.
Aditya, just
Yeah,
add
okay.
that for somewhere. They would get confused.
What?
Just add the divide by 4 if it's editable. The slide is editable. So just go line wise. Actually, it is root mean squared error. So that mean is actually a mean. So there are 4 data points. So at the end, there is a division by 4. That was not written in the slide. And that's why I guess Aditya Rao was confused. So it is a mean only. So after the root,
Yes, Rashika.
take a mean.
You are taking the mean.
The root of
Like
the mean. Okay. So like the root contains the like both the parts. Root of all the mean squared errors. That's the exact formula.
so I guess so I have divided it by 4. Got it. Yes, now. Great. So what we are doing, we are taking the mean of these values. Okay, so it is just evaluation matrix. Okay, so now you have seen one of the evaluation matrix as RMSE, root mean squared error. But in general case, we use mean squared error. Okay, so what is mean squared error? We will be seeing on to the mean squared error performance matrix as mean squared error. Okay, so just wait. I'll open my whiteboard. So mean squared error. So what is the mean squared error? It is also called as your cost function. Cost function means on the basis of that your model will be getting evaluated at the end. Okay, so it is called as also called as cost function. So those who want to write down the notes, please take out the notes that your mean squared error is the cost function. Cost function means it is the evaluation matrix. On the basis of that your model is getting evaluated, and the goal is you want to reduce the cost function, and the formula for the cost function is 1 over twice m summation I ranges from 1 to m of y hat minus y whole square. Okay, so we will be going on to the discussion of this. So, okay, so what are the m here? M are the number of points. Okay, so previously I had drawn something like this, like I have drawn the graph of the points. Okay, so this was my graph. There were some points randomly plotted. Okay, so here in this case I have plotted total 1 2 3 4 5 points. Okay, so what this is tries to do is your m here represents your number of points. So number of points here are 5 points. So you will substitute 1 over 2 into 5. I guess almost the summation means you're adding your whole result. Okay, so what does the y hat represents? So it is pronounced as y hat, and it is called as y, simply y. So when you're trying, once you get the best line, okay, so your predictions will be based on the given line. Okay, so that are called, the prediction based on this new fitted line is called as your y hat predictions, and the prediction which you already have means the correct labels is called as the y. Consider this as the examiner has the sheet of the correct answers, and you have marks your answer on the answer paper. So he will try to tally out the answers with the original answer sheet, and he will take out the difference, that this answer differs from the original answers this much. On the basis of that, he will try to give you the marks. Similarly, in the case of machine learning, you have your predictions called as y hat, and you are subtracting it from the original label. Either you write y minus y hat whole square or y hat minus y whole square is one and the same thing, because at the end you are squaring it. Okay, and at the end you are doing the summation of all these value. So it is called as mean squared error, referred as cost function. Cost function means evaluation matrix. Okay, that is the thing you want to reduce. I hope till here everything is clear. I want some replies. Yes, guys. Okay, got it. Great. So cost function is, we can measure the accuracy of our hypothesis function by using a cost function. So I have taught you that 1 over twice m summation I ranges from 1 to m y hat minus y whole square. Okay, so it is also, y hat is also represented as h theta of x. Okay, so it is another function to represent the your model's prediction. The function is also called as the mean squared error or MSE. Okay, so what is our main goal? To reduce the cost function. You want to reduce the error, that's the main aim of the model. Okay, so how we are going to reduce the model error? So try to figure out, these are your red points and this is your line. So you are trying to minimize this distance, the dotted line. You will be adding the distance, and at the time when you get the least distance from this line, at that time you have reached the maximum limit, means that your goal is getting achieved. Okay, you want to minimize this error. Okay, so when I draw line parallel to this point, so I will be getting a flat line. When I'm drawing a line like, okay, hold on.
Basically, we are just trying to rotate the line. Yeah, look in here.
You are trying. Otherwise, just explain them.
Yeah, so what the sum of squared residuals is just mean squared error. Okay, just focus, there is no root now. There is a mean squared error. So you can use mean square error. You can use root mean square error, which is nothing but at the end you are adding a root. Okay, and then there is mean absolute error. So rather than squaring it, we just take the absolute values. Okay, we don't take the negative positive. So don't worry about them. Just consider that there is a mean squared error. Okay, and that is nothing but sum of distances of a line from each of those data points. So what we did was we tried a this horizontal line. Okay, the first line on the x-axis. So we tried this line, and what we found was that sum of those squares. Okay, so the distance between the each of the data point and the line, so that lied somewhat on that. You can see that y-intercept, that is the fourth one. The fourth y-intercept. Okay, then what you tried to do is that you tilted a line a bit. Okay, so you tilted the line, and what you saw that the sum of squared residuals was coming a bit less. So that is So the line was getting fitted a bit better, right? The distance between the data points and the line, that reduced a bit. So in the third step, what you did was you rotated the line furthermore, and then the corresponding dot, so that was the sum of squared distances. Okay, and then you just kept on rotating the line, and then it kept on increasing. And what our aim is, that our aim is to minimize the distances of the data points and the best line you are trying to predict. So what would be the best line? The best line would be the one which has least distance between the data points and the line. Okay, because at the end, what we want our line to best fit on the data. So the sum of squared residuals, so wherever the sum of squared residuals, that would be minimum. So that would be my optimal line, because in that case I have the lowest error. Okay, sum of squared residuals is nothing but mean squared error, and that is nothing but your error. So you just want minimum error, and you got that in the third line. Okay, so kind of tilted one line, so that point you have minimum sum of squared residuals. So Aditya would explain in the next slide that how it actually represents it.
Okay, so now you have got the aim that we want to reduce the error as much as we can. Okay, so for reducing the error, we use a technique called as gradient descent. So what does gradient descent do is it tries to minimize the line. Okay, so imagine all of you have to imagine a kind of situation I'm going to tell you. Suppose you're lost in a mountain and there's a very dense fog. Okay, so what you can do is you can only feel the slope of the ground below your feet. Okay, and your main goal is to reduce to go at the bottom of the hill. So what you can do is you can step in the direction of the steepest slope. You can keep your foot in the right, left, and backward and front direction. Once you can find the slope that this slope can take me down, you step in that direction. This is exactly what gradient descent do. It measures the steepest slope in the direction and takes the step in that direction. And once if I feel like there is no slope, that I can't go below that, that is the point you have reached the bottom of the mountain. Okay, so I will just take on to my screen. Okay, so you so my screen is visible, I guess so. So imagine you are on Mount Kilimanjaro or Mount Everest. Okay, so this is a mount. Okay, so you are at this point is called as A. You want to go at the bottom of the mountain. Okay, so you want to reach at this point. So what you does is you keep a step in right and left direction, and you see the steepest slope is in the left direction. You keep on moving forward, you keep on moving forward. Okay, so at some point of time when you are reached at this point, you can't see anything steeper than this. So you come to the conclusion that there is nothing steeper than this, and you stop. So what does gradient descent do is it will also move in the similar direction. Okay, so I will plot the diagram of gradient descent, how it tries to minimize your error function is. So this is your x and y axis. Okay, so just try to figure out, this is your x and y axis. On the y axis you have the cost function, and somewhere you start your algorithm like this. You start by predicting your random line. So what our main goal is, you want to find the best fitted line. You start fitting a random line, the error is very high, so you come a small thing down, take a smaller step, again you take a smaller step. Okay, so at some point of time you will reach the bottom. Okay, so I will mark the bottom with a blue pen. Okay, so you have reached the bottom of this point. Okay, further from this point you can't move anything downwards, means you have reached the global minimum. So this point is called as global minimum point. After this point you can't move anything further down, global minimum. So that's how your gradient descent works. It tries to find out the point at which the slope is zero. You have studied, I already told you the equation y is equals to mx plus c. So what you have to do is you want to reduce m such that the value of m can't get anything further down. Means you have to find at that point where your slope is 0. And when the slope is 0, when you try to draw a line perpendicular and the slope of that line is 0, means you have reached the bottom of the line. So that's how gradient descent works. What we have studied till now is you want to fit the best fitted line into the graph. For the best fitted line, you evaluate your line on the basis of some parameters called as mean squared error, mean absolute error, and root mean squared error. And the question is how we get to the bottom of the line. We use an algorithm called as gradient descent, which helps to go at the bottom of the line. Means you want to find the best line, and when we find the best line, when your derivative at this point is 0. So derivative, what does the derivative function does is it tries to find the minimum point. Means if I am drawing a tangent at this point, my derivative is 0. Suppose at this point of line I am drawing the tangent with my red line, the derivative at this point can't be 0, it will be something positive or negative value. Derivative of a perpendicular line is always 0. So you have studied in the class 11 and 12. Okay, so that's the main aim. So I will try to speak in my native language so that the ones from my native language will understand it much faster. मतलब हम इतना कर रहे हैं कि हम एक रैंडमली पॉइंट इनिशियलाइज कर रहे हैं एंड वी आर ट्राइंग टू मूव डाउन. हम इतना नीचे जा रहे हैं कि एट सम पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम वी कांट मूव एनीथिंग फर्दर. मतलब हम उससे नीचे नहीं जा सकते और स्लोप निकालते हैं उस लाइन का. एंड स्लोप कभी भी एक पॉइंट लाइन का, अगर ऐसी लाइन है, अगर मैं इस डायरेक्शन में उसका स्लोप निकाल रहा तो anything would be something positive or negative value. Slope means तुम एक tangent draw करते हो perpendicular to that point. Okay, so if I'm drawing a tangent to this line, it will be something positive or negative value. But once I'm drawing the tangent at the bottom point, so at that point of the time the tangent will be 0, means the slope will be 0 at this point of the time. Means you have reached the bottom of the line. इससे नीचे you can't go anything further down. The steepest line, the steepest point will always give us the best fitted line. Manasvi, we will go on taking the steepest points, and once you have reached the at max the steepest points, and you can feel the further there is no anything steeper than this. So at that point of the time you can say your line is best fitted. So can you draw a rough best fit line for this graph? Bottom will give you the, yes Rasika, yes, you got the point. Bottom will give you the best fitted line. And in the case of linear regression, the function is always a convex function. Means there will be always a single point. At that point of the time you can't go anything further down. Means the graph is always like this. You can't get a graph like this or any other shape in linear regression. The graph will always be like this, a U shape. So there will be always a single point which you can reach, and that's the main aim of the linear regression. You have to find the bottommost point. Okay, any other doubts?
Is it clear till now, or anyone has any doubts? So you can ask, and then we can proceed towards the coding part. Clear, okay. Nakul is clear.
Very
Okay.
clear. Okay, great.
Idea.
If anyone has any silly doubt, just ask it. Silliest of silliest doubt will be getting cleared. Okay, so just ask the doubt if you have anything. So I guess everyone doubts is clear. Everyone has the concept getting very clear. Okay, great. I guess we can move to the coding part, Atharva.
ठीक है, बिल्कुल. चलिए शुरू करते हैं. Well, my screen is visible.
Yes, Atharva, go on.
So what we are going to do is we are going to sell a house in Boston. Okay. So we have a property in Boston and we are trying to sell it. And what we will be trying to do is we will be trying to get the best rate for it using linear regression. So we have some we have some data and we have that previously how the sale was there. Okay, so we have the previous data of these the description of the properties which were sold previously and at what price those were sold. So we have that data and by that data we are trying to predict. So for a particular, so let's say for a 2 room property with some other amenities, etc., etc., what price would be best for me to sell that property. So let's see Boston. Okay, so Boston is in Massachusetts. अरे यार weather नहीं चाहिए. Okay, it says it's 21 degree. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we have Boston and we have some area in here. Can we open it in Google Maps? Okay, so this part is right. So this part is Boston. Okay, this red labeled, and we are going to sell a house in Boston using coding and that too linear regression. And by the way, Boston के आसपास we have MIT here somewhere. Where is it? It's on the outskirts of Boston. Let's just MIT. Okay, sorry. MIT here. See, Boston, MIT. So let's suppose MIT wants to expand, okay, and we have to allot them an area in Boston. So we are going to do that. So we would be trying to see what price we would be selling a particular area in Boston. Area means a particular plot, okay. So let's proceed about what we have. So let's boot up Colab. So go to colab.research.google.com. And this would be your best friend to write notebooks. So anyone who wants to do live coding with me, please, this is your time. Just boot up your Python Colab notebook on colab.research.google.com. I'll give you just like 10 seconds to boot up. And once you are on Colab, let's proceed with the actual code. So what we are going to do is we are going to import libraries at first. Okay, so one library that has our data set is sklearn, and we are going to import load Boston. And let's say Boston equals to load Boston.
Okay, so try to do with coding with him. Okay, so everyone will be if you have some doubts, it will be getting cleared at the same time.
Yeah. Don't worry, like if you don't have the resources now, this would be uploaded on the GitHub repository, but it would be good if you try with me because it's fun. Okay. So for fun, we'll be trying to code together. So what I did was I imported a sklearn library, and particularly in that there is a datasets class, and from that I imported load Boston. So basically what I did was sklearn में dataset था, मैंने dataset का instance बना दिया. So anyone who knows what class is, so I basically created an instance of a class named load Boston. And who don't know what class is, don't worry, just don't take too much pressure. You would be understanding later on. Okay, Rasika is trying. See, so we loaded Boston. So we used Boston equals to load Boston. And what it did was it loaded my data set. So let's see how the data set looks like. Okay, Boston. Oh my God, what is this? है ना, फट गई. So first thing is we'll see this curly braces. Okay, it's starting and ending with curly braces. So what was the data structure that started and ended with curly braces? Come on, we saw it in Python. So what was that? There was something called as lists, there was something called as tuples, and there one more thing which started and ended with curly braces. So can anyone give me the answer? Exactly, dictionary. So you can see the data is stored here in dictionary, and in dictionary we have key value pairs, right? So the key is data, and so in this key data we have all the data. Okay, and this feature name, what we have is we have column names, and file name would be just nothing but the file name. So this was a CSV. Okay, CSV stands for comma separated value. So for example, when we code a table in, let's say, Microsoft Excel, so the extension is XLSV. Okay, and when you do the same is LibreOffice is a office, so it's an alternative to Microsoft Excel in let's say Linux. Okay, Linux OS. So it has another extension, and this CSV is kind of a common extension for data. Okay, so we have the file name here and we have target array. So what this target array is, the target array is nothing but the price. Okay, so the price is in, I guess, millions. So this would be the price. So let's make sense of this data. If it's not if you're not able to get sense of this data, don't worry, we would be extracting the table from this. So let's see how we can do that. So what we would be doing is that we would be first importing pandas and import it as PD. So PD is a nickname I'm giving to pandas. So every time when I'm using pandas, I don't have to write pandas everywhere. I can do PD, I can do any name. ठीक है, कुछ भी नाम चाहिए तो we can write. So PD, and then I will create a data frame with this data. So what I'll do is I'll do data equals to PD dot data frame. And what is data frame? Data frame is nothing but tables in Python, and specifically Python में नहीं, but in this pandas library. So if you want to use tables in Python, you use data frame. Just keep this analogy in mind. Data frame is nothing but tables. Okay, and Boston.data. So what Boston.data was? So Boston, and in that data, so it was this my features, my X variables. Okay, so I gave data equals to I created a data frame in pandas, and after that let's see how the data looks like. So we'll just do here only. Okay, now we got this tabular format. We have 506 rows and 13 columns. So what these 13 columns are, these 13 columns are my different types of features. I will show you what those features are, but just get it that these are my features. Okay, and again this I wrote the data in last, so this is something equal to print data. Okay, if you remember, so I wrote it in the end. So data is nothing but print data, so that's why it got printed. First lecture again. So now we know what our data looks like. So this is a table, but ye 0 1 2 3 4 this is written. I don't want this, I want the column names. So we will use data dot columns. Okay, so data frames has a column tab, and what in that what you are going to do is you are going to give it feature names. So feature names are here. You can see the column names are stored with feature names in the Boston. So Boston dot feature names would return me an array, and I'm giving that array to data dot columns. So for this data frame, I am giving the column names from this Boston data set. So now let's see what our data looks like. So data dot head. Okay, so this head would return me the top 5 entries. So you can see now the column names I have. So I have a complete table, as you can see. So this Scream, this ZN, this Indus, what these things mean? Let's see what these things mean. So you can see here, complete description of the data is given, that what is what. Okay, I gave it in your chat. So see this CRIM thing. What is this CRIM? Okay, CRIM is per capita crime rate by the town. ZN is proportion of residential land zone for lots of 25,000 square feet. Indus is proportion of non-retail business acres per town. So similarly, you have these features. Okay, you have these features, and by using these features, so by using this per capita crime rate, by using the proportion of residential land zone, and if this is like near to this Charles River, what is the nitric oxide concentration, what are the number of average number of rooms. So by using these many things, you are going to predict what would be the price for that plot, okay, for that house. So now you have column names, you have the data, but you don't know the prices because the prices were stored in this target. So what we will do is we will add one more column and we will name it as price. Okay, so data, and I want the column name to be price, and in this column what I'll do is I'll add the price. Boston.target had the price. So let's see how the data looks like now. Okay, now I have 14 rows. First I had 13, but now what happened was that this price row got appended. So this is the complete table I want, where from this CRIM that was here given as per capita crime rate by town. So from CRIM to this LSTAT, and what this LSTAT was, it was the lower status of the population. So these are all my features. So these are all my independent variables. And on these independent variables, so on these 13 independent variables, I'm going to predict the price of the plot. So samjha yahan tak? Does everyone get the point what we are trying to do here? Just
Okay, so we have seen in the PPT that we have dependent variables and independent variables. So your price here in the case is your dependent variable that you want to predict, and the CRIM, ZN, Indus, these are all independent features. Suppose I change any of this column, so my price will be getting affected. Means your price is dependent on these features from CRIM to LSTAT. Okay, and your price is your dependent variable.
By the way, this is anyone asked, right? So this is the actual data of house prices in Boston, which was calculated some years back. I don't know the exact date. You can find it out. And what this sklearn people did was, so sklearn is a library in Python, and what they did was they added the data set in their own library. Okay, so everyone can quickly access this thing. So it's nothing but that only, and it's actual like the actual data. So now we have the complete table formed, right? So let's see some insights of this table. So let's see data dot shape. So what's the shape of this data? Okay, so it tells me 506 rows and 14 columns. You can match it with this also. So data, now you want to see what is data. Okay, I forgot what data was. So just quickly do the type of data. What is the type of data? It is a data frame. And where is this data frame like written? This code of data frame is written. It's in Pandas library. Okay. Got this point? Someone has it out. No? I tried the same in Google Colab, but I get numbers instead of CRIM, Indus, etc. Why? Did you code properly, Dhanraj? Do you want me to go back or something? Can you just tally with the code I've written? I think you must have written something wrong. That's why you're getting it. Moving to if I'll slow down. No problem, I'll slow down. And even I can give you here. Okay, we are just printing the Boston. So first two lines everyone has written, I probably guess. Can you show the features name? Okay. See, this is the features name. What you can do is just do two things. Okay. from sklearn.datasets import load Boston, and you just give it an instance. You can name this anything. Okay, this is nothing but a variable, so you can give anything. It is nothing but an instance of this load data, load Boston, and you can print it and you can see what different types of things are. You forgot to run the code. Yeah, it could be that you forgot to run the code. Wow, can we? Okay, there is an option to give code snippets in chat as well. I didn't know that. Great. Code line of data column. Okay. So after that, what we did was we used pandas.data frame. So basically, whenever you want to prep data, you use data frames to create tables. And there you loaded this Boston.data and give it a variable data. So now this data variable is my data frame. And you want the table, right? So column names I gave from here. So you were having doubt with columns. So data.columns. Okay. You have to write it properly. You have to see data frame is written with D and F capital. So data.columns equals to Boston.features names, and features names, as you saw, so it was the names of the feature. Basically, it was an array and it was containing this CRIM, ZN, Indus, everything. Pandas is again a library in Python that is used to load data, and it has data frames. So like it is used to kind of manipulate tables in Python. Whenever you have like what is available in pandas and like that, what you can do is I'll add it here. Okay, one more cool feature of any notebook. I don't know if it works for whole library. Let's see. Okay, so it did work for whole library. So see, you want to, I imported pandas as PD. Okay, just imagine I ran only this line and then I did PD and question mark. So I don't know what this PD is. So here you can see pandas is a Python package for providing fast and flexible, expensive data structures. Okay, and you can see the different types of features of this pandas library. It's showing error when I type data.columns equals to Boston.names. It's not Boston.names, it's Boston.feature names. Okay. See, Vishal told you, I guess. Anywhere you have doubt like pd.data frame. I don't know what data frame is. So I'll do pd. Okay, sorry. pd. Data frame, and I'll do question mark. What is this pd.data frame? So this will tell me what pd.data frame is. Okay, so two-dimensional size mutable, potentially heterogeneous tabular data. So that's what I told you. It's nothing but to handle data like tabular data in Python. Yeah, excellent feature, right? Whenever you have doubt, just import the library and do this question mark. You add it at the end, and it will tell you what it is. Dipikshika, I'm so sorry. Okay, so we are yet to calculate the price, but we would be doing it soon. But if you mean that how the price is given, so this is a previous data. Okay, so so we have these features according to this CRIM, Z and everything, and at what price the property was sold before. So we have that data, and we haven't created a prediction yet. To use in VS Code, how to import sklearn, as I have error module not found. Yeah, so these types of error happen, Daryl. So that's why we recommended Colab. But you have a workaround of it, and what you have to do is, if you have this model not found error, you do nothing but you open your VS Code and you open a tab. A minute, let me show you in VS Code itself. So for Daryl, we are going to code it in VS Code. Okay, that's my portfolio. Let's open a new file. Save it as .ipnb would be preferred, but you can use .py as well. So I'll do linear regression .ipnb. Okay. and I did import sklearn, and probably I got an error. Let's try running it. Okay, wait a second. Actually, it should have detected Python. I'll try new. Okay, so import sklearn. Let's see, I have sklearn or not.
Otherwise, just rename the file as ipynb.
Yeah, I did that, but actually, I think I don't have Python extension or what.
No, you haven't renamed the file as
Yeah, I did this.
ipynb.
IPY. Sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Where is rename? Okay, let's close this one.
Create a new file.
Yeah, I'll create new. So Python Jupyter, and I think it will directly save to IPYNB. See, IPYNB, I created one, and now here I have a Jupyter notebook. So I'll do import sklearn, but I think I have sklearn, so sorry for that. Executing the cell. So it worked, but in case it doesn't work, what you do is that you do pip install sklearn. So pip install sklearn. So whatever error you have, just do pip install whatever library you don't have. Okay, so see, it will install the library you need, and then once you do that import sklearn, it will work. So got the point? So any library you don't have in local, what you can do is just you can do pip install whatever the library name is, or you can just search here. So PyPy is the name of the site. It's nothing but Python package index, and you can search whatever library you need. So I need sklearn, and I don't know how to install it. So I found sklearn. So pip install sklearn 2. So it is a new version. So that's fine. Even if you'll write sklearn, I think the new version would be installed. So it's like that. So you can search any any project you want on PyPy, that is any library you want. pypi.org, this is the site to find packages in Python, and you can also create your packages of your own. So we did one, like I have one. Okay, so I created one as well. So if you think your project is useful and other people can use it, so you can import and install your own packages as well. So that's the thing about Python packages. I think if you have solved your errors, can we proceed to the next one? Any replies? Okay, Daryl says okay. So does everyone has this table created for them? Just print out your data. You should see these features. So 13 features, and the 14th would be price. If you have this, let's move forward. So you can see the data was nothing but a data frame, and the actual code of data frame would be in pandas library. You can search for the data, like you can search for the code written for creating data frames as well on Google. You will find it. I think for NumPy, Vishal shared a screenshot yesterday. Okay. Shape, you just do data.shape and you print it out. So just apply a print command, data.shape. So you can see the shape of the data. Or if you just write the data at the end, and it will just show you the same statistics. You want data type, then you can do is data.dtypes. And what it will show, that it will show you what type of data is stored. So for each and everything, it's a float value. And if you remember what intent float and everything was, so I think you'll get it. Yeah. So let's proceed. So let's see that if I have any null values. So I have a table of 506 rows and 14 columns, and I want to check if any value is missing, because you can't train on missing values. So it will be an incorrect prediction. So data dot is null, and let's see the total. So do I have any null values? 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so I don't have any null values in any of the columns, right? And if you want to see further analysis, what you can do is you can just use data.describe, and it will give you, see, I don't know what describe is, so this will tell me generate descriptive statistics. And if you want to print how data.describe looks like, see, so it will give you mean, median, mode, and everything for each and every column. So column wise, it counted the it counted the number of instances, it counted the mean, standard deviation, minimum, so everything like that. Okay, minima, maxima, you have it. So it's just description. It doesn't have to do with anything, but it's for your own visualization only, so that you get familiar with the data. So what we'll do is that we will use data dot core. Okay, so this is correlation between two features. Okay, to compare pairwise correlation of columns. And let's see what is the shape of these correlations. So again, 14 by 14. So what is this 14 by 14? 14 by 14 would be column versus column, and how it will be printed. Let's see how it is printed. So what we will do is we will import another two libraries named as matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. So we use this shortcut so that every time I don't have to write these big names. So that's why as and then any short nickname you have to provide to the library, it's very much useful. Okay, and one more library is Seaborn. So these both libraries are we are going to use for visualization of this correlation. And let's see how correlation looks like. So PLT is matplotlib.pyplot. So if I didn't use PLT, I had to write this whole thing. Okay, and dot figure. So I want a figure of, let's say, fixed size. I'm so sorry, I print fixed size, let's say 20 by 20, and I want a heat map of the correlations, and I want them to be annotated. Okay, so true. So see, what is this? Yeah, so this is nothing but correlation of two like the data. So there is this CRIM, and what was this CRIM? It was per capita crime rate of the town. So this and this, and how are they correlated? Crime and this price, how are they correlated? So you have the values of their correlations here, and what you want is you want, so these range from like negative to positive values, and you want it to be mostly positive. So you are going to find light table like the light color in this heat map. Okay, so you can just say that they are more correlated. So see, like it is column by column, so every column would be completely correlated with it. So price would be completely correlated with the price. So that's why it's one. Okay, because it is completely correlated. So like that, each and every column with its with the same column, they are completely related. That's why one. And which are not, so like they will have other values that one, and you want to find the the lightest colors. Okay,
All the diagonal values here are 1, and you can, for reference, you have to take the scale on the right hand side, which shows the scale from 0 to 1, and the values which are close to 1 like 0.8, just check the color, and from the map we have to pick the lightest values. if the value is very, if the color is block is very dark, so that values can be ignored. That values does not contribute to the model's prediction. Okay, we have to select the lightest values.
So here is the code. Okay, just to increase your process. And yeah, so this is nothing but the correlation. So what you are going to find is price, right? You want to find out price, and price is, let's say, the lightest C. So price is more related to this thing RM. And what is RM? RM is average number of rooms per dwelling. Okay, so these rooms and the price are very much correlated. Okay, similarly, you have good correlations with Zn and the other stuff, and you can also find the correlations for other so this, you can see that tax and RAD, so these are more correlated, that is 0.9, so like very much close to 1. So it's like that. And now we will be actually moving further. Why are all diagonal values 1? Because it's the same data, right? See, price 1, because price is completely similar to price, so it is completely correlated. Okay, similarly LSTAT with LSTAT, so that's why diagonals are 1, because it's nothing but the same tables and they are correlated with each other. Code not defined. Did you use this correlation equals to data.corr? See, Vishal told the great thing of what correlation is. Explanation. You can just see how much proportionate are those two tables. Who's getting error? Kanishka, you're getting error, so probably you missed out this line. Try adding this line and I think it will work. And okay. So this was all about visualization and seeing how the data varies with another tables. And now we are going to do actual linear regression in Python. So just take your eyes here. So X, okay. And now in X, what I want everything from the data except the table, or except the column price. So I'm going to remove the column price, and except that I want everything. And axis would be 1. So this axis 1 means that I want every row, right? So let's see how X looks like. So see, X is my table except the last thing, that is the price column. So except price column, I have everything in X. So now similarly for Y would be your predictions, and prediction would be your price. Price, right? You can print out Y as well. So see, Y would be this price. Okay. And now a concept from the first class, if you remember, we told you about how you want to separate some data out for testing purposes. So you know that how exactly the data would be correlated. Like there would be always some data which your model hasn't seen, and you want to see predictions on that type of data, right? So again, from sklearn dot model selection, I'll import train test split. And what train test split is, it will just split my data into X train, X test, Y train, and Y test. And it will be instance of train test split of X and Y. And I can give one more parameter named test size. So it will tell me how much data I want to separate out for training and testing. So now I have 506 rows, right? Where is it? I have 506 rows and 14 columns, out of which last column was my price. So now I have 506 rows, and from this 506 instances, I want some data to be used for training and some data to be left out for testing. So I will know how accurate my data is and all. Okay, my model is.
Atharva, we have just left with the 5 minutes, so
Yeah.
we have to speed it up a little bit.
So I have just this test side of 0.2. So like 80% data would be used for training and 20% data would be used for testing. And now the main thing, let's fit the data into a linear model. So sklearn linear model, we would be importing linear regression. Sorry, linear regression. And let's create a instance of this linear regression class. And I'll just fit the xtrain and its particular labels. So what's happening in these 3 lines is that I created a linear regression. So I used a line and I tried to fit the line on xtrain and ytrain. So xtrain were my features and y was the corresponding price. And now I want to evaluate how my model did. So this is where you are going to use predictions. So let's predict on the test values. Predict on x test. So I can do predictions on x test, and this x test data was not used for model training. Model training happened in lm linear regression dot fit. Okay, so you fitted with xtrain ytrain and test data was not seen. So you are going to do predictions, and let's print out the predictions. So this is the predictions you have, and it was 20% of the 506 rows. So accordingly, the 20% data was selected, and the prediction for each of those is here. And if you want to see on what data did we predict, so you can do print x test. Okay, so on x test, so on these values, you had the similar outputs, and that is nothing but predictions. So these predictions you did using linear regression. So this 14 was prediction for this data. So CRIM 37 and similar things. Okay. So if you get that point, let's see how much accurate my model is. So I will do linear model.score. I will use the again testing data because I want to see how much it works on the real world data. And it shows me 76.95. So you can consider that your model is 76% accurate. Okay, so your model is 76.95% accurate for any data it sees. So you can use this hypothesis here, and that's how you do linear regression. So just like once you have the data, what you have to do, you have to import trend trace split. You have to split your data. In these 3 lines, I fitted linear model, and that's it. Linear regression was done. So that easy. I'll be sharing this notebook, don't worry. Linear regression. So I would be sharing this notebook with you all. So you can just test it out here. Regression. Okay. You know actually what happened. Let's see what happened. Just a quick and very short explanation I'll try to give. So we had different features. Okay. Where is it? Okay. So I had this CRIM and ZN and everything. Okay. So let's consider this tax. Let's consider tax. So I had tax here, and I have price of the house here, and I had the previous data points. So this could be the previous data points, right? So, and I tried to fit a line in this data. And how I did that? I did this thing with just 3 lines of code. That is this import import linear model and that linear model dot fit. So in these 3 lines of code, I used gradient descent. I did everything so that I find a best line fitting this price. But now I considered only tax and price. But what actually I had was how many number of columns? So I had 13 columns, I guess, right? So 14 would be including price. So I have total 13 features. Okay. So in Hindi, I'll convert it in English again. So in Hindi, देखो टैक्स एक फीचर हो गया, वैसे ही अलग अलग CRIM एंड एक्सेट्रा वगैरह में फीचर्स थे. तो टोटल ऐसे 13 फीचर्स थे. And with those 13 features, we what that 3 lines of code tried to do was, इन्होंने ऐसे वो 13 कॉमा से प्लॉट करके देखा. तो 4 3 2 ऐसे कुछ कुछ वैल्यूज होंगे और ऐसे टोटल 13 वैल्यूज, तो ऐसे 13 डायमेंशंस में प्लॉट हुआ था वो. And in by plotting it in 13 dimensions, we tried to fit one line in those 506 instances we had. Okay. And usse we tried to predict a price. So that happened in only 3 lines of code, and we tried to predict the best line we get using linear regression. And your accuracy was again 76%. You will say 77, 76.95. So like that. So that was all about linear regressions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if you don't have any questions, we can proceed further. So any questions right now? Aditya, do you have any questions?
I can't see any of the questions recently. If you are cleared, just type in the cleared here.
Yeah, at least right.
Else, if you have questions, just ask the questions so that we
And
can get a clear idea.
Get the code in one thing only. You just revisit the code. You try to understand what is there in the code. You try to understand each and every line, and that's how you will get it. Okay. So isn't it amazing? Because what you did.
Sonali is saying I am getting different score values. Why is this? So Sonali, what does the linear regression does is it tries to shuffle the data. Means if I am giving the 100 points, the 100 points isn't arranged in the same order. मतलब वो डेटा एक सिमिलर फॉर्मेट में अरेंज नहीं है. मतलब वो रैंडमली डेटा पिक कर रहा, तो रैंडमली डेटा पिक कर रहा तो हर ऑलमोस्ट सबके डाउट सबके जो स्कोर है वो अलग अलग आ सकते हैं. कभी किसी का सेम आएगा तो he will get the same score, but if it always try to pick out the random values, so it will try to generate random scores. Okay. Okay, great.
Actually, train test split में random random data is splitted into training and testing. So that's why different values would be expected. It could be 76, 74. So, but it will be in the same range only. Still aborting because my code is stuck on having error data.columns in feature names. Probably you haven't did the you haven't written the above code, I guess. That's why. Did you load properly your data? And did you create a data frame with Boston.data? Darren. Don't worry, we'll be sharing the notebook so you can just check it out what's happening. Okay. And so yeah, actually see, so you had these many 13 different types of features, and 14th was the price. Okay. So in y-axis, if you had price, you plotted a 13 dimensional you plotted the points in 13 dimensions, actually 14. So 13 dimensions would be of the features, and the 14th dimension would be a price. So you plotted 13 dimensional plots, okay, in 3 lines of code, and you fitted a best line in those 14 dimensions, and you tried to find the best line. So you tried to reduce this distance. So these distances of these 14 dimensional points, you tried to reduce by using that model dot fit on x and y. So that's what exactly happened. So if everyone is clear, so I guess we can say that this meeting has ended here.
Any doubts still here?
I'll download.
But why do we do 80-20 splitting? Okay, so in the previous, I have already told you what does machine learning does is you try to evaluate your model, and if you are doing 100, giving your 100% data to the model, the model will be seeing all the data. So on which basis he will be doing the prediction? For doing the prediction, it will require some amount of data. So some amount of data can 5%, 10%, 20%, 30%. It is up to you how much data you want to give the model for testing purpose. So you define 80-20. You can also define 70% for training, 30% for testing. It's up to you how much data you want to give. I hope your doubt is clear. Any other doubts? So all the codes will be uploaded to GitHub. All the video will be uploaded to YouTube. So it is trying to fit only one line based on the 13 features. Okay.
So you have the code. I just pushed the code for like this notebook. You can download the notebook, and you can do file and upload notebook. Okay, so you can upload notebook and try it yourself.